It's street talk time, and we thought we had a great time on the street this week, so we'd share our thoughts with you.
We did. I wasn't on the street, I don't know about you, but I had a good time watching it. I was impressed and satisfied by this week's offering.
That's how I aim to please. First storyline is Ali Bye Bye.
Yes, Ali. No, you got to say it in a northern way.
Michael,
Ali
you
Bye
do it
Bye. Ali Bye Bye.
Right, next.
Bail outed.
Is that a northern accent you just did?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Next.
Yasmeen.
Come on, you give me a hard time, I'll give you a hard time. Next.
Nina, Batman. That was fun.
Next.
Looking out for number one.
And
a quadrangle at the end, so a bit of unnecessary Gemma at the end of this week, but never mind.
Excuse me, Gemmas are always necessary. Right.
Well, yes, we start with the Ali Baba story because we had to say ta-ra to the doctor this week, the good doctor.
I know, and we had so many high hopes for his exit, and in the end he just left in his fancy car.
He had a good fight. He had Monday's episode, he did a great face plank. Wednesday he had a fight with Gary. He did go off in his car on Friday, but I thought he did some nice goodbye scenes.
I know, but we thought he was going to get murdered and all kinds, didn't we?
It was possible, but at least it gives the opportunity for him to come back and do more brotherly bonding with his kind of brother Ryan.
I know, it's like, oh guys, you're not really related, but you know what? Family's what you make it, that's what I say.
Yes. We're also, if anyone was wondering, we're going to shove all the Imran and Toya stuff in this storyline as well, because it seemed like it was going to be pretty difficult to separate it from the rest.
Why don't we just do that?
Yes. I was quite pleased that there was Imran and Toya stuff this week. They were in it all week. They had things to do. They had lines. They were in scenes together. Oh, yes. Let's hope that this is the start of something that continues for the rest of the year.
Don't even want to toot the horn before we get to that bit.
Okay. Right, what's going on then, Gemma?
Right, so on Monday, Ryan reminds Ali to lay low because he knows that everything's going down and he wants him to keep his nose clean.
Yeah, Ali, he thinks that Gary's going to be out to get him.
He's not wrong. Gary sees Ali and he is distracted from Maria's wedding witterings because she is trying to plan a wedding to top Sarah Louise. Who wouldn't? That's the one to beat this year, apparently. Shazza visits Gaza. As we know, is she a rival?
He's keeping his nose clean, Gemma.
Is he a rival? What are they called?
Lone shark.
I was like Shark Tank. No, she's not a Shark Tank. No, he's pretending he's not a loan shark, but he is really, don't you?
He's deep to his bones. He's
got this black book full of
Rick Neelan's
contacts that she's asked him for previously, and he dangles it in front of her nose and says, "Would you like this? If so, you can help me out. I want Ali to lose everything." And she says, "Sounds good to me." Passes her the book, and she says she's up for it. Ali sees Maria and talks to her about everything that's going on. He says he's a bit desperate and says, I know you still love me. We've got to get together. And she's like, I never loved you.
Heartbreaking.
I was just hard up for some D. Maybe Sharon has drugged Ali's orange juice. We see him sitting at the bar. There are two orange juices. One's close to him, one's further away. Then Sharon comes along, she puts an orange juice down, and then she takes the other one.
Yes.
She's obviously put something in the other orange juice that then Ali picks up and drinks.
But what?
But what could it be? Maria meets Gary in speed dial, talk about the wedding plans. He's distracted, but then he gets a phone call from Sharon and says, I've sorted Ali out. And so he can focus more and says, let's go big on the wedding. I want it to be a big affair. Craig has an appointment with Ali. I didn't really get what this was about. I guess this was him doing the old, before you start any exercise regime, make sure you speak to your doctor first.
Yeah.
Which is what they always say when I load up my old Nintendo games. And I always ignore it. So good for you, Craig, for going in to see the doctor. Unfortunately for you, the doctor was not as professional as you were about it. Because Ali's keeps repeating himself. He seems really dazed. He gets
he's all
up,
woozy, wasn't he?
and then he faints. So Craig probably was bolstered by that and thought, well, I can do better than that. I can get up and walk out of a room.
Ali only has to think about exercise and he's on the floor.
He's like, oh God, jogging. Oh.
I did think that was a good feint. It was like a proper,
proper
face planted onto the floor. He did.
Good job. Dr. Gallus comes in, yells for somebody to get an ambulance. Toya is there too. She is a proper snitch this week. She says, he's overdosed on diazepam. straight off the bat. Nice one.
She just did it because the doctors need to know what it could be in his system.
Listen, this is a prime example of somebody actually doing the right thing on Coronation Street and still getting punished for it. Because normally they kind of hide things and they keep things to themselves and they won't say anything because they want to, I don't know, boost the drama. but good old Toya.
Yeah, delays the drama
when
for
your
a bit.
When your friend's life is in balance, you need to say if you think they've been taking drugs.
I wanted to know. I couldn't remember whether Sharon was told by Gary that that diazepam is Ali's Achilles heel, as it were.
It would be a bit of a coincidence, don't you think?
Yeah.
Ali gets stretchered.
Soaps aren't strangers to coincidence, though, are they?
No. Ali gets stretchered into an ambulance, and then Gary looks worried when he hears that Ali may have taken an overdose. I don't know what he thought Sharon was going to do.
I wanted her to murder him, not just put drugs in his orange juice.
I wanted her to give him a haircut.
Yeah, attack him with a pair of shears.
Like Samson and his gorgeous locks.
Yes, maybe. He thought that was his weakness.
Probably. Maria is worried for Ali, cannot believe he's back on drugs. Gary panic phones Sharon and says, listen, if he dies, this is your fault, it's on you. I'm sure Sharon was not concerned about this. Ryan turns up at the hospital, Toya tells him what's happened, and he immediately blames Maria, thinking that she had caused him emotional turmoil by slagging around, and it's all her fault that he'd OD'd. Which I say, no.
No,
it's not her fault. Gary seems suspicious of how concerned Maria is about her ex, supposedly. She goes to the hospital and Ryan says, he's very cold to her. He says, he's half dead thanks to you. You played him and Gary off against each other for kicks. Like you're some kind of evil temptress who only exists in soaps and sexy novels. I don't think women have got time for this.
He's got our number.
In real life. We're too busy, I don't know, buying chocolates.
Bulk buying chocolates
and crocheting doilies. Maria goes back and she tells Gary the truth about what happened on Valentine's
Day shag.
Oh, yeah. Gary is not...
Gary's like, I've sat on that sofa last week and had my haircut.
He's like, ew! Did you spray it down and wash your hands for 20
He already
seconds?
knew about it, of course, didn't he?
Of course he knew.
Yeah.
She leaves her engagement ring on the table as if to say, it's now down to you.
And this is at this point during the week when the car drives down through their lounge and runs over the engagement ring and leaves it bent and tattered.
Well, this is why you get platinum, see, because gold and silver are incredibly soft and malleable. If you get platinum, you can run over whatever you like with it.
Oh, well, I imagine this was a quality engagement ring.
Well, gold and silver are quality metals, Michael. I'm not going to dispute that. But
platinum's the way to go.
My engagement ring is made of platinum, so yes. We should try it out. Should we run it over? See what happens. So that's fine. It's intact on the table because there is no ring road
diversion through the flat. That's okay. You never can tell.
In the pub, Toya gets a shovel out and begins to dig. She's already got a pretty decent grave-sized hole for herself, but she starts to dig a bit more. She says, Imran, my love, I knew all along that dear Ali was a drug addict, and I have been secretly helping him all this time. Not helping
him get drugs.
No, I've been helping him try to get clean
with my counselling skills,
and really awful skills. And I think that Dr. Gaddis probably knows that this has been going on. And Imran says that you're an idiot. You're beautiful, but you're stupid, just like many other people in the show. Maria comes round to get some of her stuff. Says, why would Ali do this now? Gary says, why has Ali done this? Why is he taking an overdose? Have you slept with each other again? And she says, no. And he says, you hurt me, but I do not blame you. We all make mistakes. Remember this in the future in case you find anything out that I've done. And he gives her the ring back. Yeah. So they're still on.
They are.
The great love of the 2020s is back on. Ryan is still with Ali in the hospital. He groans, wakes up. Ryan says, you have taken an overdose? And Ali says, no, I haven't taken anything. I'm clean. But then why has diazepam showed up in his system?
That's basically the drama at the end of this episode, the beginning of next episode. Nobody believes Ali that he's not taken.
I thought this was
diazepam.
Great. This was kind of not played up too much, but it really felt like a massive, not dilemma, but just natural consequences of Ali's deceit over the last year or so.
He is the boy who cried wolf.
It really is, and it's like it must be so frustrating. And I really I think it was quite subtly done, but still I could feel Ali's frustration throughout the whole week. Like, I understand why you don't believe me, but you have to listen when I tell you that I did not take these drugs. I thought this was great. On Wednesday, Maria is grovelling. She's so grateful to Gary for forgiving her transgressions. Toya sees her and says Ali's okay and he's going to be discharged, and Maria's like, okay, I'm going to keep my distance in case I caused him to take drugs, because she is hot stuff and she's got great hair.
They probably just gave Ali a film night. That's usually how he gets over his drug-induced
We're so sorry to hear
comas.
you've taken an overdose. We've got all of the Disney Pixar movies one after the other. We've skipped up though because it's quite traumatic. Ryan brings Gary clothes. No, actually Ali.
Excuse my notes.
And he's been given all these helpful NHS leaflets about how to not take drugs again. Interesting fact, I nearly applied for a job for the NHS to update their communications.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because if you look at the leaflets that you get, on the back of it, it'll always say when this leaflet was produced and how long it's been since it was updated.
Yeah.
That would be a really good job, because what you have to do is phone up all the doctors and the research people and say, like, any new news about cancer? And they'll be like, yeah, we've cured it. Great, I'll update the leaflet. I'll let everybody know.
Safe to go on the sunbeds.
You can do what you smoke all you like, drink what you want, get sunburned.
Red meat for every meal.
Oh, yes, please. So he's got these leaflets, but he swears he's not taking drugs. Ryan does not believe him when he says that his drink was spiked by Gary. And
he's close, isn't he, Ali?
Gary wasn't there, was he?
He wasn't.
So, what you want? Drugs? That was a joke. Gladys comes in to see Toya and says, when did you first spot the signs?
Oh yeah, she goes around her house, doesn't she?
Did Ali confide in you about this? She's quizzing her, and Toya's like,
Let's have a guess.
I just thought it could be diazepam. And Dr. Gladys is like, it's a very specific thing to think right off the bat without any prior knowledge. And she sees right through this. Toya tries to backpedal, says she thought he wasn't taking it anymore. And Dr. Gladys says, you know what? You're fired. Get your stuff, get out of the surgery and go and practice somewhere else. Because you know what? You need more practice because you ain't very good at it. Poor Toya. I can't believe her sterling career
I know. What will Corrie be without all those scenes of Toya in the counselling?
Do you remember when she got that job? We were like, oh, I can't wait for all the scenes of Toya counselling her neighbours. We know this wouldn't happen in real life because obviously you wouldn't be able to talk to people about their problems that you knew in real life. And then Coronation Street went, that's true actually, we just won't put her in any scenes.
We've literally seen her, I would say you could count on one hand how many scenes we've had of Toya in the medical centre since she's been working there for...
I think you might even be able to argue that you had more scenes of Moira in the medical centre, and that's crazy.
Oh, easily.
Considering that Moira is supposed to be full-time working on...
Archers.
The Archers.
But Moira is front of house, isn't she? Toya's got a little side room.
I'll tell you what, I'll give her this. She's very discreet with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Barely even know she was there.
Ali and Ryan return to the street. Dr. Gallus says, come and see me.
Like, it's your turn now.
I know, this is like when you're naughty at school.
I'm in the mood for firing.
Like, my pointing finger is itching. Gary sees this happening and he is pretty pleased with himself. Dr. Gallus says, like, how long have you been on drugs, you awful man? And he says, I have not. And she says, Ali, you are suspended. Get out. So he comes out. He sees Toya walking around with a big box of things. And he realises that she's the one that stopped him in. And then he moans at her for betraying his trust. And she says, I was just thinking of his patients. And anyway, you betrayed my trust too, because you're the only reason that I'm getting fired. And he gets really mad and he kicks something, I think.
Oh yeah, he had to kick something or throw something. Yeah.
Maybe he throws something and kicks it. That's pretty stylish.
Drop kick.
Maria sees Ali fuming, and she gets in the car with him, which was a bad move. And she asks him, "Did you take the overdose because of how hot I am?" And he says, "No, Gary drugged me, or somebody else drugged me because he said that he told them to." And she's like, I do not believe you. And she tries to get out, but he locks her in and drives off. Luckily for them, they're both in an Audi.
Yeah, there's worse cars to be locked up in, aren't there? Which is a posh car,
which I did not know very much about until my friend got one, and I'll be polite, won't shut up about how cool it is. So they're driving around.
They're going around the Manchester area, all around Salford.
Driving up and down the road
or something.
Coronation Street.
I don't think they were. I don't think they were actually on Trafford Road.
There was definitely a bit where they drive past a house that had a Freshco van parked in the driveway.
They did. I thought that was really nice attention to detail.
They're driving around. He's quite fast. He's very moody. He's distracted. He's talking to her. He's interrogating her. She's getting really nervous. She keeps asking him to pull over, and he will not do it. And this was very tense. And this made me cringe because, you know, if you're a woman and you're in a car with a man and he's getting stressed out, you don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to crash into something?
He might have gone full on Richard Hillman.
Is he going to drive you somewhere and attack
Don Brennan.
You don't know. She eventually manages to get him to stop, and when he does, she tries to get out, but apparently there's a child lock on an Audi convertible.
Yeah.
Well, it's not convertible, but it's definitely a sports car, isn't it? And it's not a family car. He lets her out. She storms off. He tries to give her a lift. She won't get back in the car. So he drives off without her. So finally she gets home, tells Gary what happened, including the fact that Ali accused him of spiking his drink. And Gary's like, oh no, he's figured it out. Gary and Maria are walking along the street and Ali's stalking them. And then they have a fight. They kind of like...
I wondered whether Ali would just literally launch himself, like throw Maria out of the way and launch himself at Gary, but they had a bit of a testosterone off first. They're
a bit of a, let's see who can wheel up the wall the highest.
Yeah, Gary's there just smirking away. He does a little wink, doesn't he?
Because really, you can't get fired for bad behaviour from being a loan shark.
No.
So Ali was always going to be on the back foot here. You should have thought about that.
It was a good fight, I thought. He punches him down on the ground.
Gary basically admits that he was in on what happened to Ali. Yeah. Then they have a fight, and there's brick clobbering. There's
near brick clobbering. He picked up the brick to go for him. Yeah, but when he had him down on the floor, it reminded me a bit of when Ali had Gary down on the floor, and then there was a lot of blood, wasn't there? Yep. I thought it was good, and it reminded me a bit of when Jon Snow was going after Ramsay Bolton at the end of the Battle of the Bastards. It was like if he hadn't been pulled off. Who was there? Steve there to pull them off after? Ryan was running down the road like Forrest Gump.
Choose your language carefully.
You know what I mean? He would have pulverised him.
Yeah.
Those cobbles are hard.
They're well hard.
Already stained with the blood of Kylie Platt as well.
Oh, and many more before her.
Probably.
Police arrive. Gary wastes no time in blaming Ali for everything that's happened. And saying, he's like, that guy attacked me and he's on drugs. And the police officer who's taking these notes is like, excellent. I like it when there's a clear-cut case of it was all his fault. He gets arrested for assault. Gary is smiling. Imran and Toya are there. They've seen the whole thing and they're trying not to get too involved in this because they're like, I know we live on Coronation Street, but we're middle class. We're not involved in street brawls or anything like that. They tried to sort of say they didn't really see what happened. Toya goes over to see if Ali's okay, but he throws the sympathy back in her face, and she's like, fine.
Yeah, Toya, I mean, we all know you're a Battersby, Toya. You can't hide that. As many floral tops as you can wear. Still,
I know you can wear all the chintzy Victoriana that you like, but we know deep down that the cobble's run in your veins. On Friday, Ali is back on the street after a night in the cells, and Ryan tries to put a positive spin on things, but
at least they let you out for a bit. at least you're not.
He's still got to go to court. He does mention this before he leaves. Like it's not a case of he goes to jail for a night and then they let him off.
Don't do it again.
Don't do any more crimes. But he's mad. Imran is trying to get Toya to apply for jobs, and he's found a great role to be a PA for a firm that he's found online. And what was the name? Did you write it down?
I didn't write the name of the firm.
It was like something like String Strong.
They didn't. I'm pretty sure they didn't say what type of firm it was. It was just a dodgy firm.
They never say what it is. You're supposed to make your own.
Yeah, but they didn't say what kind of business it did they?
No, they said they were bad. They have 0-hour contracts. They treat people badly.
Tax avoidance.
Yeah, it could be any company really with more than 50 branches in a country. I'm thinking fossil fuel, like petrol, something like that.
Tell you what, it wasn't Co-op and it wasn't Costa.
No, those two are great. Maybe it was comparethemarket.com.
Which is why the contract is ending.
She's like, oh no, I don't know. What's the name in Harry Potter of the German school?
Durmstrang. It wasn't German.
Durmstrang.
Okay.
What were they then?
I don't remember.
Austrian?
I don't know.
Eastern European of some sort?
Some Eastern European country, indeed.
Durmstrang. She's trying to get a job with Durmstrang. But she'd rather work for Beaubaton. She's like, oh no, they're terrible. And she scrolls down and she goes, oh, the money is quite good. It's blood money, Toya, don't do it. Nina sees her. She later decamps to the cafe to look at the listing, and Nina tries to put her off. She's saying, oh no, don't get a job there. They're attached doggers. Attached
doggers?
You've got to spray them with water to get them to separate.
That does seem like a dodgy business, you're right.
They're tax dodgers. They have a massive carbon footprint.
There's already one Battersby that's worked in the sex industry, Gemma. Can't have both of them doing it. Les and Janice would never live it down.
Well, when you're desperate. Nina says she's chained herself to their railings for 3 days the other month to try to protest against their evil ways, and even Evelyn's not really sure about this is a good idea, but Toya has a good old think about it, and I think she decides not to go ahead. Then we see Liz having a go at Ali when he comes to the medical centre to pick his stuff up. She calls him a druggie. She says he's a terrible person. Basically gives him a hard time. He
basically, in the second half of the episode last night,
he just gets told he's crap by
going round every character that he's ever interacted with.
Like, I don't
which isn't very many, to be fair.
You're a terrible man.
Yeah.
Ali tells Ryan he's going.
He's doing a Corrie flit, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going right now.
Rubbish.
You got 5 minutes to say goodbyes to me. I packed all my worldly goods
into my
miniature suitcase. Yeah.
Well, he does have a moving van. I don't know what furniture he's got.
Rich doctor furniture.
All like Richard had upstairs.
Yes.
He wasn't a doctor though.
I don't know.
He's got wooden furniture made of actual wood, not plywood, like all the rest of us plebs. So they sort of arrange to have a drink later together. Now Toya is in the flat.
Domestic goddess Toya Battersby.
Craig and Imran and Toya all share a flat. Remember, she is making a big salad, which I think she's been watching too much Seinfeld, and also. She's
apple crumble
and
with no fat cream.
Sweet corn fritters.
Oh yeah, sweet corn fritters. They're nice. We had them earlier this week.
We had sweet corn pakoras.
Is that different?
Which is an Indian style thing. I wondered if she was making Cajun style sweet corn fritters. This is why I don't like it when people cook for me, because I have so many questions, but I don't want to be rude, but I want to know what exactly it is that you're putting in the sweet corn fritters, just because I'm interested. So what were you putting in there? A little bit of cayenne pepper, maybe a bit of cumin. Nice big pinch of Himalayan sea salt.
I've got nothing to contribute to this conversation. It had sweet corn in it.
She's cooking a healthy feast, which includes no fat cream, what is that? She says, I can't apply for that job on principle, Imran. He's not very happy about her turning down this job over principles. And she says, don't worry, I'll get something later at a later point. We're having a ... over that, I guess.
Yeah.
Ali goes into the Rovers to have a drink with his fake brother. He does not get a warm reception from anybody.
No, because they all love Gary, don't they?
And they love him so much. He's a pillar of the community. If you need a £5 note, he will give it to you for £10 next week. Maria sees he's sad, follows him out the back, wishes him all the best, and she said, look, I know we had a great time together, but you'll find somebody else. And he says, look, I hope I'm wrong about how much of a cad Gary is. And they leave it at that. He then goes round Toya and Imran's to apologise to Toya about ruining her career, and she forgives her for some reason. I don't think I would. Then we have Gaza and Shazza meeting up in the Ginnel, and she is very relieved to find out that Ali is not dead after all. And she says, look, we should team up like in the superhero movies. And he says, no, this is not the Avengers. I am a solo actor. Ali continues to say his goodbyes. He says goodbye to Peter and Carla. Has a nice scene with Ryan. They actually hug each other, because at one point they were like, no hugs, dude. And then at the very end, they give each other a big hug.
I know, and then he drove off into the sunset with his Audi. I think we should wait until we did the character profile on him to say a little bit more about what we thought about the character finally. And the story wasn't just about him either. There was, of course, the Toya and Imran kind of relationship, another one of Ali's confidence.
I was so thrilled that she wasn't cooking vegetable lasagna, but for a moment I thought, is this going to be an ongoing Coronation Street joke?
Coronation Street does have a vegetable lasagna, a vegetarian. It's an agenda, because didn't Nina have veggie lasagna this week? They had to get it in there somewhere. I think it's the new Bistro Olives as veggie lasagna.
Make aubergine parmesan. It's much better than vegetable lasagna.
I thought it started off all the Toya and Imran stuff quite promisingly at the beginning of the week with all the running, but they didn't really go down that route very much, did they? Towards the end, because they had.
Is there a Craig story later?
Not really. They just had Craig and Imran going up running, and Imran was boasting about, I'll be fine, but actually he was really shagged out before after 2 minutes. So don't blame him, because I had to do
tapped out first.
Oh, sorry. I had to do a little run on Southampton Common yesterday for sports relief, and it was just a mile, and so it took it out of me.
How long did it take you?
I didn't time it, actually, but longer than it should have done. Longer than many other of my colleagues and some of the children, or many, let's say
children
many of the children
as
elastic. Well. They're nippy, aren't they, children?
They just bounce along like rubber balls.
And then they had Imran ducking out to go to the cinema to see that new sci-fi film.
Invisible Man?
It was, I was saying maybe it was Invisible Man I went to. It wasn't A Quiet Place 2, I'll tell you that, because that's been delayed now. What I was looking for, though, I wanted there to be the scene where Imran gets home and Toya, who knows that he's ducked out to go to the cinema, confronts him. I wanted to see her making him sweat, but sadly, with Ali being taken to A&E,
that's too distracting.
We missed out on that. But
so what's going to happen to Toya next? What is she going to do?
I mean, my theory possibly is that I don't know necessarily what's wrong for her, but this dodgy business that's now been introduced to the street, I've got a feeling that maybe Imran is going to have to defend them, maybe.
Oh yeah,
because he certainly didn't show any aversion to Toya getting a job there, so he's willing to turn a blind eye to their dodgy dealings. So I think maybe we might be introduced to a character that works there or something, and he has to defend them, and then Toya's with her principals going out with this guy who is defending somebody in a company that she has once protested about. Because I don't know whether this is true or not, but when Nina was saying that she tied herself to their railings for 3 days, Toya was like, oh yeah, me too. But I don't know whether she was just saying that to be cool, to get in with Nina because she so craves her validation.
We know that she's a bit of a rabble raiser.
Toya is.
Yeah.
She has been in the past, hasn't she? Yeah. Was she up the tree with Emily Bishop? I can't remember. I think she was. Emily and Spider.
Spider.
Yeah.
I don't know what is Toya going to do as a job. Is she just going to become a bap slatherer?
I don't know.
In the cafe, is she going to pull pints in the Rovers?
I mean, she's got to get a job on the street, really, because everyone gets a job on the street. She has a job in the medical centre. Clearly, it didn't work.
Do you want to hear my idea?
What?
How about, she's looking into PA work because Imran says she's so good at listening.
Yes, she's a very good listener.
What if she
Much like Georgia Taylor.
What if she gets a job working for Ray?
Working for Ray.
Becoming his PA?
No, I don't think she would. If she turned down this other business because of the bad reputation.
If Ray got own a room, I bet you he could convince her that it was all a load of lies and he'd been slandered. And if she believes him, she might even think he's the victim in the situation, and then she could be the one that's trying to like.
No, I don't like that. We've already had Alia being the one that we've been saying, no, don't be so stupid, Alia. He's clearly dodgy. We don't want Toya as well.
That's on the street, another sort of big business person who's on the street. Who
could she do some underworld PAing or
boring as hell?
But just because the idea. Just because the idea of PAing was brought up, it doesn't mean that's what she's going to do. Like I said, it might have been just brought up just so that this other company could be brought in that Imran's later going to have to do some lawyering for.
But what is her role?
The thing is, most people on Coronation Street are multi-talented and they can turn their hand to whatever it is that the writers decide they want to do. Kathy, why not make her a news agent? Aggie, who can't cut, fine, let's have her working on the cafe. Toya, let's make her Rover's Return landlady, why not? She can do anything.
What about if she becomes like a counsellor at home? That could be quite fun, because you could have Toya in the house and Craig and Imran coming home, and then like there's always someone weird and random on the sofa talking about their life, and she could have some really odd clients like talking about like. You know what I mean?
It just feels like if they didn't have literally any ideas about how to make her a counsellor for the past 2 years when she was working at the medical centre, why would they now? Literally all we've seen is her having that scene with Carla, and then she let her escape out of the window. So our one scene of Toya as a counsellor, she lost her patient. I think that they might have her doing something else. Maybe she seems like the sort that might, work in the community centre. But then if she's interested in the money, she's not going to get.
But can you not envisage? Oh, you remember when Maria was doing that online dating and she kept meeting weird people?
Yeah,
it would be like that, but for counselling. So she'd have like on her sofa, she'd have a big guy there going like, oh, I just imagine I'm a frog, and like everywhere I go, when I see a fly, I just want to lick it with my tongue, and I did the other day, but it didn't taste good. You know what I mean?
I like the sound of it. But it feels like something that would be only short term. And as I said, it feels like Corrie don't know what to do with Toya as a counsellor. There's still. I was just thinking. That business opposite streetcars, the old council offices or whatever, that last year or was it the year before, I can't remember, Sinead and Daniel were going to try and get, and so were Brian and Kathy, and then in the end none of them got it. That's still an empty lot, so it could be that Toya is somehow able to buy that. Juice bar, there's still that, because she was Pet I'm sure shop. She was running a juice bar in London with Spider at some point, and that seems like one of these hippie-ish green things that Coronation Street would like to
food or drink business. We've said this before.
I know, take people away from the Rovers, which is already
destitute.
Yeah, but I can see them doing that. But
I'm excited. I want to know what they do, and I hope it's something good.
They could put her in the bistro, because Ray's time at the bistro is going to end at some point, isn't it? We're not going to have this dodgy guy there working there forever. And Toya, who has been a landlady, and maybe she was no Annie Walker, she was no Bette Lynch, but maybe she's going to get the craving for the hostelry business and go and work over there with Leanne, maybe, because Leanne certainly had a lot of experience running the bistro. That's how we get the Battersby sisters back together behind a counter. I like that idea.
I think we've come up with really good ideas, but I don't have faith in Coronation Street to think of anything good.
For Toya?
Yeah.
Well,
back your ideas up, Coronation Street.
If you take any of the ideas, you don't have to give us any money or anything.
No, we don't. We just want credits. I want in the credits of the programme, I want to have consultants.
People who thought that Toya should get a job.
Storyline consultants.
Yeah.
And get my name right.
Do you think that she was? Do you even think that she was right to get sacked? Did Dr. Gaddis, make the right move there?
Dr. Gaddis should fire herself then, because she knew that something was going on.
I know. Yeah, I was a bit like, does the main doctor at a surgery, do they have the power to do whatever they want? Because when I go to the doctors, like I don't really know whose doctor surgery it is. Like they all just kind of work there.
Isn't it like? I don't even want to show my ignorance. I thought it was something like you have founding partners and they run a practice and then they hire other doctors. kind of like a law firm.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how it works. I never saw Dr. Gaddis as being the one at the top and she's everybody's boss.
I did. Senior partner.
Yeah.
I don't understand how it works, and I don't think I need to know.
Oh, well. It was nice to see some Dr. Gaddis as well, even though there was conflict between two of our fave characters at the moment, Gaddis and Toya. Just how hard-faced she was, Dr. Badass she was called online.
Yeah, Sally Ann Matthews did a tweet called
was it her that?
Yeah, brilliant.
That was awesome.
Can't believe it's taken us this long to think of Dr. Badass, but well done, Sal. That was perfect.
We need to see more of that. I'd love her to get a story. It's not going to happen, is it?
I don't need it. No, I've said this before.
Yeah, okay, fine.
It's like salt. You want a bit of it on your food, but if you just ate a spoonful of it, you'd probably not like it.
One thing I like about Dr. Ali leaving is that it might mean that we get more Gaddis scenes. Yeah. I know that Ali's been working at the hospital anyway, but every time somebody goes to consult Dr. Ali, I'm like,
why
they could have made Gaddis do that scene. Yeah. What do you think's next for Gary and Sharon? I reckon that
something's going to happen. They're going to team up.
She desperately needs somebody to help her out. She can't do it on her own. And I wonder that because she knows that Gary offed Rick Neelan, whether she's going to use that to blackmail him to going back into the Shark Tank.
Very good.
Because he's trying his best to stay on the straight and narrow.
But not even. He's like It's like. Nah, it's like, it reminds me of someone who's supposed to be on a diet and they're like, well, if I have this chocolate biscuit, I can go for a run later. And then they don't go for a run. Like, he keeps going, I'm just going to do a tiny evil thing. But if I'm good for the rest of the time, it won't matter. It's like it does. It always adds up. It's going to go on your bum and you're going to have a big fat bum, Gary.
Gemma, you did promise on Twitter before we move on to the next storyline title this week that as part of the Maria and Ali hostage situation, which I think was maybe a little bit of unnecessary drama, I don't know, but I suppose it was a nice catalyst for the fight. They did drive past a new Freshco's advert which actually had food on it.
This drove me mad.
Why?
We don't even have a picture of it anymore, do we? It's like, what did it say? Like, come to Freshco's for our new range, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like, what have you been selling before now?
Well, babies, clearly.
What were you selling? Just like nappies and nappy cream?
They just got different types of fruit.
And it had pictures
I thought it was a very
random food on there. None of it was labelled. You didn't know if that was what they were actually selling. But have they just, because it said new finest, new range, they've only just decided to start selling peppers and celery?
No. What have they're just saying they've got fancy packaging for it or something.
They haven't got packaging. It was not even packaged. If you went to the shop, how would you know what you were looking for?
Maybe before Freshco's didn't have a finest range, although I think they have mentioned it in the past.
It was a nice step into actually making sense in that a supermarket that sells food was using food to advertise their food supermarket. But other than that, again, it was a really bad example of how to advertise because nothing about that made any sense.
I disagree. It was one of these minimalist adverts.
Random food.
Just to make you go, oh, Freshco's, oh, that looks fresh and tasty. And actually, they've got a whole rainbow of food there.
What am I buying? Am I buying a finest range of food or am I buying like a budget range of food?
I don't think they needed the prices.
Olive oil.
I would say that a place like somewhere like Lidl and Aldi might have their prices like front and centre in the adverts.
All of them do, Michael.
But do they? Well, I thought it was a good advert.
No, it wasn't. It was like a picture on the front of like a 1970s microwave book where it's like, you can put all these in the microwave. Look, celery, you can put fish in there.
Bread.
Why not?
But, I mean, we've got to agree that it was a major step up from having Gemma and Chesney holding babies.
That had items they presumably have in their shop.
Yeah.
Although it very much did scream to me of an iStock photo that somebody's just gone on and found a picture of food and just downloaded it and paid like the £350
You're being too harsh on this advert. I thought that the designer did a very good job with that. I enjoyed it and it made us go, oh, Freshco's
Also, you can't take Finest as your range name because that's Tesco. Tesco's Finest.
If I was working at Tesco's, I'd be like, you take our supermarket, you change the name a bit, and now you're taking this.
You bastards. They even tried to make it fancy font like Finest.
I know. The only other thing I wanted to say about this story, because I think it was something that Toya mentioned during it, was about, she was on the phone to Leanne, wasn't she, about Oliver being sick, and we saw a couple of weeks ago when he was coughing all over his birthday cake, something going on with Oliver there. He's still got something. So maybe we will find out soon what that is. I honestly don't know.
It seems strange to bring it up again if it was just...
It's one of these drip, drip, drip things in that I think is going to come up again.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to the next controversial storyline this week, the Bale outed story.
Whenever I hear Bale outed or Bale out, I always think of the hostel, the Bale hostel, which went nowhere.
They decided against it.
All of her fears never came true.
No, and now she's moved anyway, so it's fine. We'll talk more about that later.
Yeah.
So Belle outed. So we had the Golden Heart ceremony this week, everybody. The new Weatherfield Good Samaritan.
The baby storyline.
It is the Bailey James story. And Ed is not impressed by James's choice of jeans for the not assembly, I'm in school teacher mode, for the award ceremony.
Well, he thinks they should be a bit more formal. Is this the non-denominational replacement for the Weatherfield?
No, it's very denominational because Billy's running it.
But what's it?
Golden Hearts.
But it's not like the Good Samaritan Awards definitely has
a Christian ring to it.
Yeah, Golden Heart. No. And then they hire a vicar.
I know, it doesn't make sense.
What are you doing, guys?
Never mind. Aggie doesn't think that she's worthy of this award. She says, I just was there at the right place at the right time and I there was a gunman in front of me.
I think she's right.
I think that she is right. I'm just glad.
I don't want to downplay her achievements, but I think if you were a nurse and you were in that situation, I don't know that you would have done anything different.
I'm just really happy for Weatherfield that there obviously haven't been any other crises this year for them. And so that a tiny act like this is what gets the Golden Heart Award.
Having been a keen observer, as you know, of Weatherfield for the past 12 months and more, I would go along with that. I would say that they're pretty much all out for themselves down Weatherfield way, and Aggie's probably the most selfless one of all.
Maybe this is just the first year they're doing it and they're trying out. What if we give this new awards to somebody who's only done something slightly helpful?
Helpful award.
And then we don't have to set ourselves up for disappointment when next year nobody really does anything else that's particularly good.
That's right. You start small, don't you? And you build up because you don't want to start off with something really mega because then you won't be able to top it.
Yeah. Anyway. Just before they go out to the ceremony, Danny's there. Danny's outside. Remember James's ex-boyfriend. Yeah. And he invites him out for a matey drink later because
not Danny Dyer.
No, not Danny Dyer.
Hey, can I be in this programme too, innit? I'm taking over all the soaps, right?
Things were left a little bit uncomfortable between them before because Danny gave James the old heave-ho because he didn't want to be going out closeted to this footballer. But they're going to have friendly drinks later, apparently. Go to the the ceremony. I say assembly, cinema. It is a ceremony. And I can tell it's a ceremony because there's a celebrity there. Tommy Orpington is back, everybody. The famous Weatherfield footballer.
Can't believe it.
And so Tommy's the one that presents Aggie with the award. Agatha Bailey, she's called, which makes it sound it's so close to Agatha Christie.
I know. What's the award for? They didn't say, do they?
I think she just said our first recipient
of the Weatherfield. Right, so there's
maybe
more
there were
than
lots
one.
of people.
Maybe it's like.
And they start off with the least important one.
Maybe they're like you gave your spared parking ticket to somebody. And
might I just say
you used a reusable cup at Costa, but you're not allowed to do that at the moment.
If this is an annual awards ceremony, then why is it that nobody who helped out when the factory roof collapsed, for example, has been nominated? Why hasn't Abby got it for bravely turning off the electricity? Why hasn't Dr. Ali got it for going in there and saving them?
I don't want to diminish Aggie's achievements.
I know.
And it's not about anybody but her right now. Well, we are going to say we agree with her.
Yeah, when she's very humble about it.
That she really shouldn't get an award.
Yeah, and she's going to go back to nursing now.
Good for her.
We need nurses at the moment. We do need some extra healthcare workers.
I don't know if I would go back right now.
Anyway, a reporter comes over to James while they're kind of schmoozing afterwards, and she's like, have you got any comments? He goes, first she kind of butters him up and says, hey, Weatherfield's up and coming hot cop player. And James is like oh, thank you, tell me more. And then she says, so... Are you gay? Because people on Twitter say you're gay. And he's like, oh, blimey.
Don't believe Twitter.
It turns out that Danny has messaged him on Weatherfield Twitter.
Absolute gumble.
Saying, I know it's awkward, all this talk about you coming out and everything. Maybe we have this drink later. And James immediately denies it. It's not gay. So,
the thing is, I don't remember what exactly the message was, but I do believe it was along the lines of, I know you didn't want to come out.
Yeah,
blah, 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 blah. Why couldn't he just have said, no, he meant come out to play with my friends. But my mum said no because she's getting an award.
Do my piano practice first. Anyway, James is saying
maybe it's because James is of a generation where you didn't have your friends come round to say,
"Can you come out to
play?" And you say, "No, I've got to have my dinner."
Yeah.
Do you remember those days?
I totally do. Yes, I had friends, everybody. It's true.
Good job, Michael.
So Billy comes over to him, and we were wondering, weren't we, a couple of weeks ago, whether Billy would be involved in this storyline because Eddie and Aggie and Ed found religion or just remembered about it a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
and we said, is Billy going to be involved in it being a gay
It's not just a religious thing. It's also the fact that when Billy originally, as we learned in the quiz, if you weren't watching it in 2015, when Billy was around and he had to hide his sexuality because of his job.
Yeah.
So he understands completely the issues that James is going through, perhaps not so much about social media coverage, because Emily was not #NoGayVicar in Weatherfield, please. But he understands the pressures of being in a job where being gay is not welcomed.
Yeah. So Billy says, I've seen this, hoo-ha online about this. Do you want to talk to me about it? And yet again, James denies it. He's not gay, and it almost Billy should have made some kind of biblical reference. I'm kind of thinking there. This is like, is he going to deny it 3 times before the cockerel crows?
You keep saying gay in a certain way, and it's because the actor who plays James, in my head, the way he says gay, he pronounces it like he's got an E in there somewhere. And it is a very distinctive.
I'm not gay.
It's very distinctive. We're not mocking being gay. We're talking about the way that it's pronounced in a certain manner on the show occasionally.
They all go off home, and James reckons his career's over. Ed's furious about all this because this is the last thing that he wanted. This is what he was worried about was happening.
He is Cassandra in this story. He is the one who predicted this would happen, and it's all falling down around his ears now. And
he's saying to James, look, you just need to say you're not gay, just deny it and it'll go away. He thinks that he'll be able to get over this, but this is the kind of rumour that is going to keep on going until, because there's often, obviously not always, there is no smoke without fire in cases like this. But Ed's like, no, just keep on saying it's not. People will believe you eventually. So James he's livid. He goes over to the bistro, has it out with Danny, and says, "Oh, it was just an accident. I was supposed to DM you. I don't know how."
I don't think Danny did this on purpose.
I was wondering at the time whether he was.
I think the writers. I don't know. I think the writers want us to believe that Danny is socially inept. I don't think that anyone
social media really inept
of it. I don't think anyone of his age would have made this mistake, but for the purposes of the story, we have to believe that this was.
Why didn't he text him? Do people text anymore? WhatsApp him? So anyway, never mind that. It could have been that Danny did it on purpose because he thinks that he needs to rip that plaster off and it's going to be fine. He would have done
a few smirks over the shoulder if he had done it on purpose.
Maybe. We didn't see much of it anyway. But anyway, James says he's been robbed of the chance of coming out on his own terms. Thank you very much, Danny. You've completely ruined my career, my life, everything. Storms back out again.
Can you imagine? It's not like if Danny was revealed to be gay in the restaurant trade, that would have any effect at all on how many...
Exactly. And James does go over to the football club the afternoon because there's some soccer aid kids coming in and stuff. I don't know what.
No, soccer aid is a real thing.
Yeah, I know. He said there was something important going on there and he's not going to hide away. But when he comes back
later... Well done for Coronation Street for mentioning a real-life charity thing. And talking about people interacting with it. Well done.
You could have said it's something to do with sports relief because that has been this week, but...
You could have said lemonade, which everyone loves, but you said sports aid. So
I want to go into the football club because they got lemonade there this week.
Do you think sports aid is just like really salty water? Wrung out of a jock strap.
It turns out, although we didn't see any of it, and I really think it's time that we got to see some interaction between James and his co-players and not just hearing about what's going on. He says that the meeting was very difficult. Everyone was whispering about him. I think that could have been a really powerful scene to have watched that, actually.
if what I think is going to happen, and that there is a locker room scene where James is confronted by his contemporaries and kind of bullied, I think this is going to happen. I don't know if this is where it's going. It would have been more impactful if we had had a bit of normalcy, a bit of normal locker room banter before this happened. I would have liked to have established James's relationship with his fellow players before we got to the stage
and the locker room
of him
being a bit of a safe space for him, and now it's not.
Yeah, I would have liked to have established a bit of locker room normalcy, and
they've got. I think they've done some. There will be possibly something with locker room coming up, because the publicity shot that goes along with this week's episode, the main one, there's a really arty one, is it's got shadows. That's all you need to be arty to be. It's got James sitting on a bench in a locker room with some Weatherfield tops hanging behind him, and he's looking very troubled and angsty. So they've, unless it was just something that was knocked up in the corner of the studios, they have got a locker room set. So
you don't know whether
maybe
it was
that's to
just
come
a
up.
photo shoot or
No, exactly. It could have been either. So it would seem very odd to have all this happen and not have some scenes at the football club. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. Because
the trouble is, I'm going to say this now. This storyline has a very wide scope. And we know that there are football fans who will go to a match and use anything they can to abuse the opposing team's players, whether that be race or sexuality or anything. That is very difficult to capture on a soap, because they would have to hire hundreds of extras just for one scene. So I wouldn't be surprised if they substituted the football fans' response to James's coming out with his fellow players' response to him coming out, and make it, rather than being a really, really big sort of social storyline, into being a very, very small, more in like community storyline of his fellow players, and them learning to accept his sexuality. I am on the fence as to whether I think Tommy Orpington is going to be pro or against.
Me too.
At the moment,
we don't know enough about him.
I think because he's been in the show for a while, I think he might be the one who shepherds James into wider acceptance in the flock of his sexuality by, telling other people to shut up.
Yeah, we've not had any reason to hate him so far. And I think,
and because we know him and we're sympathetic to him, it would make sense. But it would be it would kind of be a shame if this whole storyline ends with one scene in the locker rooms with Tommy Orpington telling some random person we've never seen before to shut up when he says, James,
and then that's
you're
all
gay.
his problems
and
solved.
then that's the end of it.
And he's accepted.
But on the other hand, it's good that Coronation Street is tackling this at all. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, so you're right. If there was going to be it'd be more impactful if they could have a whole crowd jeering at him, but they can't, can they?
They really can't, because at the end of the day...
And I wouldn't want them to just talk about it. If they said, I went on the match and everybody was saying horrible things, it'd be like, that feels like they should have been filming that. But obviously they couldn't.
At the end of the day, this storyline is not going to culminate in James single-handedly battling homophobia in football and making everybody accepting of gay people. There is no way that they could even tackle it like that, so it wouldn't make sense to have the crowd attack him. And then what's the end result? He basically, if he was a real footballer, he would spend the rest of his career having that happen to him every time he went on the pitch.
Yeah, but I don't know how they're going to get to a situation where that doesn't happen.
I know,
because
this is
it. Because it's been shared and liked and retweeted and everything now.
5,000 times, apparently.
Exactly. The Weatherfield fans and I guess the other football fans that are going to be playing against Weatherfield FC, whoever that is, Accrington Stanley, they know. They know
there's a rumour.
Yeah, so they couldn't avoid there being a situation. This would happen, wouldn't it? It's
a really, really tough thing to have tackled, because there is no end point here.
No.
That Coronation Street can realistically depict.
It might just go away.
I know.
That's anyway.
But that's just because you can't have a neat bow tied on the end of a story at the end of it doesn't necessarily mean that you should never ever tackle it.
I know.
It just means that we don't get a satisfactory, realistic ending for Coronation Street viewers. But if this tick someone's brain over, who's a football fan who is homophobic, even a little bit, then that's a really good thing to have done.
Yeah, I mean, there's possible that James moves away after it, and then they don't have to deal with.
I know it would
next.
It would make sense to me, and I don't want to sacrifice a character. I never want to do that to an actor who's obviously put their heart into a role, unless they knew when they went in this was going to be a possibility. But it,
Yeah. Anyway, so we find out at the end of the episode that his manager's going to come round, which is what we see on Wednesday's episode. The manager's meeting is set for 1 p.m. James is getting fed up because the newspapers are ringing all the time.
Aggie gets a phone call and she picks it up quickly.
Yeah, so everybody wants to find out what is the official word from Camp Bailey.
What's your quote?
No, I shouldn't have said Camp Bailey, that's rude. I didn't even mean to.
It's fine, you didn't mean to.
The manager comes over with the press officer and they want to know what you're going to say. We need to know one way or the other.
Basically, they come round to say, are you gay or not?
Yeah, basically, and he still denies it, doesn't he? The manager, I was quite surprised actually. The manager was very nice and understanding, and he was like, honestly, we have got no problem one way or the other, but I've got my legal dude here, my press man, and he needs to know what to report because we need to say something official.
About Coronation, we've spoken about football and homosexuality previously when we first found out that the Baileys were coming into the storyline, and we looked it up. We didn't know anything about it. We educated ourselves, and we found out that even managers and press officers for Premier League footballers have told their players who have said, I am gay, don't tell anybody, keep it a secret. You do not want this to come out. And even now, Premier League footballers don't come out.
Yeah, and I was expecting his manager to be like this. I was quite blindsided by the fact that he was, you can say you are if you are, but maybe because...
I think this was a little bit
naive.
I don't think this is how a manager would be. I think the manager would say, just for your mental health, you need to not... This is private. Like, honestly, who cares? Who cares about the sexuality of a straight footballer? Nobody. Nobody cares if you've got a girlfriend or not, if you're straight. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
James says that he's not gay.
Brings this up later.
And he says he's not gay, and the press guy reckons that it's better to say nothing than deny it, because then at least this way there'll be no story.
So
but it does mean that the rumours are going to keep circulating.
The press officer says, okay, I'll write it as you said it. So I'll say, you are not G-E-H. And then we won't be lying.
Exactly.
Because no one's gay. It's
so
not a real word.
They kind of leave
it as that.
Leave it at that. And
I think he said what they wanted to hear, honestly.
Yeah, but I mean the questions aren't going to stop coming, are they? Although they do, because the story doesn't appear on Friday. So the Baileys kind of meanwhile are gathering in the pub, Ed and Aggie and Michael. Then Billy comes over and offers his support, and they don't really want it. So whereas I thought they were going to be accepting of the vicar because of their recently discovered Christianity, they actually tell him to bog off. And James comes over and says what's happened. Ed thinks that he's done the right thing.
Yeah.
Michael and Aggie don't seem so sure.
This is such a great story.
James says, I just want to be a footballer. I'm a footballer, not a black footballer, not a gay footballer. I just want to be a footballer. I don't want to be a poster boy for gay footballers. I just want to do my job and kick a ball around.
I absolutely love this section. I love this scene so much because this is what I said when he was having this conversation with Bethany, when she was saying to him, you need to come out, it's okay to be gay, you need to stand up for yourself, etc, etc. I was saying how easy it is for a straight white girl to come to a black gay man who's living in a world where you can't be gay, to tell him when he is allowed to come out. It's very different. It's so frustrating. It's such a different world depending on who you are, and it just boggles my mind.
Bethany's not been brought up at all either this week, has she? The whole
about her.
Didn't you used to have a girlfriend? It's like that story has been dropped.
The quote from James was such a powerful quote. I am a footballer, not a black footballer, not a gay footballer. I absolutely love that because it is so frustrating to be put into a box based on your identity and turned into, this kind of, like you said, poster boy for somebody else, to become a crusader in this war that you never even wanted to be a part of, just to be who you are in the world.
Yeah.
What a tough...
It is.
And it's 2020 as well, and he's a young boy. You'd think that he would be able to be whoever he wanted to be in the world. It's such a sad thing to come to terms with the fact that we are still haven't created a world where you can be whoever you are without people attacking you.
And it's tough that like we like thinking, so did he do the right? Who was right? Was James right? Was Ed right? And it's like,
I'm honestly gonna come and say there is no clear cut way out of this.
I'd like to have a definite opinion and be on one side of the fence. I don't know.
You know, if this was a Disney film or a cartoon for kids, then you know it would be correct to say I am who I am. Here's my flag. I'm waving it. Take me as I am. I'm proud of myself. But in a way, James and Ed are right to be cautious because you're not opening yourself up to friends. You're opening yourself up to enemies as well. And they will take any opportunity they can to attack you and bring you down for what they perceive to be a weakness.
And I would say that Ed knows maybe more about it than Aggie would, for example. As a bloke and a football fan, and I imagine that despite having a footballer as a son, Aggie's not, down the terraces every Saturday or anything.
Ed probably spends his life surrounded by men who would, without any hesitation, throw homophobic slurs at a player that they knew was gay on the pitch and not even really think about it.
Yeah.
No matter how much we've progressed as a society.
It's a shame that Ed's right, but in a way he kind of is. It's so hard.
No, but listen, he's right to achieve what he wants James to achieve, which is a quiet life, a successful football career.
Yeah.
Now.
And it is about what James wants at the end of the day.
What do Aggie and Michael want for James? They want him to be happy and they want him to be who he is and they want people to accept him for who he is. Now, the thing is, will that ever happen for James as a gay black footballer? No, not right now. It's sad. He could be a part of a movement to help people in the future, but if he came out right now and said, I'm a gay black footballer, he would just get slurs thrown at him.
He would, as much as it's nice to think, of course he wouldn't.
Of course, yeah, it would be lovely.
He kind of would, yeah.
It's so frustrating. I just wish that there were footballers
I'm fascinated to see where Coronation Street take this.
Premier League footballers who are gay, who have had their careers, and now there must be some, I don't know enough about football to say, there must be people out there who can sacrifice their social standing to, they've probably financially secure.
Yeah.
They don't need to rely on the goodwill of people on the pitch. They don't need to worry about what yobbos think.
Do you think
but nobody, this is the thing, nobody should have to sacrifice themselves. And this is the other thing, being a woman, I understand what it's like to be looked down upon, but I don't think not many women have had to sacrifice themselves. Most of the time when it's been the first woman to do X, Y and Z, it's been praised, in the past 50 years. Back in the dark ages, it was she's a witch, burn her. But when you're the first woman to do something, you get praised. When you're the first gay person to do something, I don't know that's necessarily.
There is a lot of praise for when celebrities come out these days, like with Schofield the other week. But football is a completely different, ball game, as it were. And there's certainly no guarantees.
Philip Schofield did not get completely praised wholeheartedly for.
Oh no, he didn't. But generally, that's the kind of reaction.
In general,
that you
he
get.
was supported by.
Yeah. But what would you think about if another footballer at Weatherfield County comes out as gay? Imagine if somebody...
They'd be it's spreading, we knew this would happen, this is what we warned you about.
If somebody else discovers, one of his teammates hears these rumours and says, look, are you gay? Because I'm gay. And could that...
as long as it's not...
Could they come out and be gay? Could they be gay together?
No, because then everyone would say they were going out. Is Tommy Orpington going to be gay? Is this what you're asking?
No, not necessarily Tommy Orpington. But it could be somebody. I mean, Tommy Orpington is, as far as we understand it on Coronation Street, a well-loved,
the biggest
popular, the biggest thing to come out of Weatherfield since Fred Elliott. And if it turned out that he was gay, would people in Weatherfield be more accepting of him because he's him? He's Tommy Orpington. I'm not going to turn against him. And then could he drag James along with him?
I understand what you're saying. This is what I mean about, I wish that there was a Premier League footballer, ex-footballer, who could say...
Yeah, there are a small number of professional footballers and rugby players and things that have come out as gay.
But you're saying small, and what you mean is far beyond the lowest number that you would say for the general population as coming out as gay. Like, a vanishingly small number of people who've been... I'm not even going to say brave, because it's not like it's not brave to come out. I mean, not brave to not come out.
Yeah.
Like, you're not a coward if you don't admit, because you shouldn't have to worry about it. They just go around in circles here. It's a really good storyline. I am so proud of Corrie for tackling it. I think it's one of the most engaging storylines. It's really interesting, like you said, like you pointed out, to see the two camps of the Bailey family having the don't say a word and be who you are, and we love and support you no matter what, and like the naivety of everything will be okay in the end if you're true to yourself, like the Disney ending, versus the harsh reality of you will get bottles thrown at you when you're trying to do your job.
I don't know how Corrie are going to go, but
I really don't know where they're going to go with it.
And I hope it's not too long, because this storyline was first kind of mentioned a year ago when the Baileys were announced, and then it came again in September, and then it disappeared for a bit. I kind of want there to keep this momentum going now, and I don't know whether it will or not, but we will see.
Good job, Corrie. Let's hope
another great storyline, the Yasmeen and Jeff one.
Yes,
Gemma.
Isn't it interesting that we normally complain about issues-based storylines when there's too many of them, but these are two really meaty good ones. We've got the homosexuality in
I don't feel like I'm being lectured by either of these stories, and I tell you what it is,
it's because there's no clear-cut ending or trajectory for these storylines, you know?
Sometimes the issues-based storylines are just there to say, look what we're tackling here. Don't do such and such, it's wrong. But with this one, I don't feel like it's just an interesting story.
Yeah, so this is the gaslighting storyline with the Jeff and Yasmeen story. There was nothing on Monday, but on Wednesday, Jeff... It's like it's called gaslighting because he's gaslighting her. On Wednesday, Jeff tells Yasmeen that he and Alia are getting on fine now because they've both been thrust together and they're getting on really
he says,
well.
with you off with your bad back, Yasmeen,
we're getting on so
thrown
well
us together.
You.
So it's trying to encourage her to stay off longer because Yasmeen wants Jeff and Alia to get on. So the longer that she stays along, the more chance there is that...
Well, she falls for this and delays coming back to work. And she says... Let's go to lunch in town, and he says, no, you can rustle us up something nice, and leaves her alone. She's standing in the middle of the house, looking
nice
at the
wide
floor,
shot.
And as he kind of like puts his coat on and sort of gives her a smug smile and walks off out the house, like he's completely in control.
Yeah, and she just stands there and is like, bye.
Yeah,
like she's completely defeated. She knows that this isn't right what she's going through, but she still thinks, is it saying that she's doing wrong? Or...
Whatever. Jeff has designed some new customised cuisine menus, he calls it. I don't really know what that involves.
Oh, they were just saying about, your meal, your way.
I know, but what does that mean for...
No, if you want... Do you want chickpeas with this, or do you want lentils?
Well, if I'm ordering a chickpea dish, I'd like the chickpeas.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I don't... Yeah, maybe it means, like, how spicy would you like it, or... Do you want coriander on it or not? Or do you have that weird gene where you don't like it?
Maybe.
Alia's not impressed by this. She says it's going to be too confusing. Then she sees that there's another bad review on the internet about Speed Dial, and she thinks that...
About her at Speed Dial.
She thinks that Ray is behind this, which honestly...
same as last time.
I really think that she's onto a winner here, because if it wasn't Jeff, it would be Ray, wouldn't it? She storms over to the bistro and accuses him, and he says, I've got nothing I can't be bothered with this. This is petty rubbish.
I got women to invite us to the hotel rooms. And,
I've got entire streets to demolish. I've got no reason to be bothering with some small fry like you, Alia.
Yeah.
Then Carla points out to Alia, I think it's Alia, when she's ordering, she says, "Oh yeah, I would like to buy this, but also, just so you know, paneer's spelt wrong on this menu," which I think is a bit rude of Carla, because I don't think that there is necessarily a agreed spelling of certain Indian words, like
dal.
Like dal, for example.
The number of different spellings I've seen people writing speed dal.
There's definitely 3 different accepted versions of writing dal. Alia's like, interesting. She goes to number 6 and she accuses Jeff immediately of being the one who's written these reviews of speed dal, calling her out, because she says, "You spelled paneer wrongly in the review and on the menu." Nice one. Nice one, Alia. He says, "No, you're just trying to get me back for something. I haven't done this. Of course it's not me," etc., etc. I think I said to you, maybe the person who wrote the review saw the spelling of paneer on the menu and then wrote it in the review, but you told me the review had been written before the menu had been written.
Yeah, I think so.
Otherwise it doesn't really follow, does it? Anyway, he's saying no, Alia's saying yes. Yasmeen now has to decide who she believes out of the 2 of them. As you would predict if you've ever known anyone who's been in an abusive relationship, Yasmeen,
or if you've just been watching this story,
picks Jeff. He's smirky, smug, and Alia strops off because those 2 people. And if you were to describe one thing about either of them, you'd say Jeff is a smirker and Alia's a stropper. Jeff goes over to see Alia and pretends to offer the olive branch and say, let's make it up, blah 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 blah. She refuses, and he says, "Why don't me and your gran buy you out? You're not happy here."
Which must have been his plan all along.
I don't think this was his plan. I think it was a Uno reverse card.
Okay.
She says no. So back home, Jeff starts...
He's there on the computer. He's doing a bit
of... He writes a horrible review of...
Quickly shuts the laptop down when Yasmeen comes downstairs.
Says to Yasmeen, maybe Alia should move on. For the sake of the business, she's no good. Look at all these reviews. Everything, she's bad. Her heart's not in it. This isn't what she wanted to do with her life. She doesn't really care about the business like you and I do. She shouldn't really be here. She's ruining everything. And
this is what he carries on saying on Friday morning. And he's talking about
she's not good enough.
These classes that they've got.
These baby classes. We're not earning any money out of them. It's pointless, waste of time. It's bad for the business. She's doing it to sink everything. Alia goes back into speed dial when Yasmeen is there and Jeff is not, to try to convince her that Jeff is a wrong un. Yasmeen gets very emotional and begs Alia to give Jeff a chance. And she says to Alia, "Jeff loves you like you're a granddaughter. He was saying how much he admires you." And Alia's like, "That sounds like absolute BS to me."
I thought that this was a really good scene, a fantastic performance from Shelley, just the torment that she's going through, because she's saying these things. She desperately, he loves you, he thinks you, and it's like she kind of believes it, but she kind of doesn't believe it. She's saying those things because she really wants it to be true. She wants it to be
true, you're right.
And she's caught between these 2 people, her granddaughter and her husband now, and
because
I thought
also,
yeah.
This is the thing, you think, why would either of them lie to me?
Exactly.
And there's also the certain thing of like family. Your family should be there for you no matter what, and your family will always have your back. But your romantic partner is the family that you've chosen. If you can't trust the person you've chosen to love you and loves you back, because family has to like you, family has to be there for you, but your romantic partner should be the one that's always on your side.
Yeah, and she hasn't got much family left. She carries on crying. She says, "Well, Sharif's gone, Kel's gone, Zidane's gone.
You're all I've got.
You and Jeff are basically the only 2 people that I've got left."
He's a pig.
When Jeff came, he was exactly what I needed.
Yeah, he's controlling you, Gran. Eventually, she says, "Maybe we should buy you out of the business." And Ali's like, "What? You want to take away the one thing I've got that connects me to my family? No, I'm not going to sell to you. This is a family business. I'm not going to let Jeff take control of it. If Jeff and you take control of this business, that's going to be only 50% Nazir controlled instead of 66% Nazir controlled. She does not want to relinquish this at all because she knows that Yasmeen is being controlled by Jeff. So giving it up is as good as giving the whole thing up to Jeff. Jeff, then, this is a weird that you really had a problem with this because you didn't understand where this was going. Jeff offers to help Brian with his gardening. Do you?
Well, maybe. I don't know. I'll tell you later.
And, what, on the podcast or not?
Yes.
Jeff is there Brian's there going, I'm going to plant some beans later. And Jeff's like, you plant your beans. And Brian says, but last time you did naughty on me and made me jokings. And Jeff says, I won't do it again. And so they go down the allotment together. How did Brian get an allotment? I'm still on the waiting list 3 years.
Was it an allotment or was it just going to the community
allotment,
garden?
He said.
Is that what he said?
He definitely said allotment.
See, Jeff is supposed to, at this point, be going off to see his financial advisor, isn't he? To try and find out more about whether they can, scrape together the funds to buy Alia out or whether it would be beneficial. So he's told Yasmeen and that's where he is. But
yeah, he's even on the phone when he's standing in front of the
counter,
and he's like, oh, sorry, do you not want your full English? And he's like, no, I'm going to eat my full English. Clearly he has I don't even know if this financial advisor exists. Anyway, Alia's looking through the accounts at Speed Dial and realises that at various points money has been withdrawn up to about £1,000. She thinks Jeff's done it to stitch her up. Ryan thinks she's being a bit paranoid. She's not sure whether Jeff has done this for his own benefit or to make her look like the guilty party, but she's pretty sure that Jeff is behind it.
Ryan really needs to believe and trust people that are close to him, really, because just a few days before this, he wasn't believing Ali when he was saying, I wasn't overdosed. And he's like, no, of course you were. And this time Ali is saying, I think that Jeff's trying to steal money from the business. No, of course he's not.
I know, he's on his phone at this point because he's looking at what's going on with his fake brother, but he's not really paying attention. Jeff comes home to Yasmeen and says, the financial advisor has said that buying Alia out is a bad idea. And Yasmeen's like, oh, that's good, because she doesn't want to sell. And then Jeff says, no, we should sell to her, sell the whole business, and we should move to Cyprus.
How does he expect Alia to be able to
I don't know whether he wants to just sell it to anybody, and then Alia's in business with whoever buys their shares. But basically, his idea is sell the business, move to Cyprus. And she's like, oh, Cyprus, interesting. Left field. He says they've got halloumi cheese. She's not really sold on that too much. I mean,
maybe his parents are there.
Maybe she's like, but you grill it and it doesn't melt. Why? How is it cheese? But halloumi's good. She's like, I don't know. And then he starts to diss every single thing that she's working and loves, because he says, you haven't really got any friends here. He makes out that when they're together and he gets on her nerves, he can leave the house and go and meet up with his friends, but she can't because she doesn't have any.
Yeah, and he doesn't accuse her and say you haven't got any friends. He's like, well, I'll go and see my friends.
I've got friends here, but what about you? You don't, so that's bad for you. Then he also says, this house is tiny. You deserve better. She's like, no, this house is great, and he says, no, I failed you. That's and
it, isn't it? It's where he's saying he's making out like, you deserve the best, and I just want the best for you, and I'm trying, and I want to be able to give you a palace.
Perfect.
To make himself sound
absolutely perfect control. This is exactly what you would say. Coronation Street again, really well done on this. He storms out, doesn't he? He says, I can't give you what you deserve. I'm leaving. I'm going. I'm upset. Basically putting the onus on her then to make it good, you know, to make Jeff believe that they can have a better life, you know. Ryan and Alia make up in the pub, and Ryan starts to try to reassure her that Yasmeen probably knows all about all this missing money and it's no big deal. This is when Eileen overhears what they're saying and says, because she's talking about...
I think Ryan says that Jeff said... Does he
Jeff's
say he's a nice guy or something like that? And Eileen's like, well, he did lock her up in a box.
Yeah. And Alia does not know anything about this. Eileen spills the beans. So then Alia goes around to check on Yasmeen and says, why don't you go out? Why won't you come around? You're never around with any of your friends. And Yasmeen says, oh, my drinking. Jeff's trying to help me with it. Alia's worried and says about the box. And Yasmeen, you know that she, Alia's probably like, I know this is true now, because rather than saying to her, no, he didn't lock me in a box, Yasmeen says, no, that was all a misunderstanding when he locked me in a box for an hour. It was an accident.
Faulty catch.
Alia then brings up the money disappearing out of speed dial. Yasmeen is surprised, but she is defending Jeff and says, if he's taken money out, it's probably for a good reason. I can't believe that he has done anything wrong. Alia then asks Yasmeen if she is scared of Jeff, and Yasmeen says, no, he loves me. He tells me every day.
Another really great performance, I thought.
Brilliant. Alia says, he's controlling you, Gran. He's telling you what to think and what to do. Yasmeen will not hear it. But then she doesn't put two and two together. She's saying, no, Alia, he doesn't control me, but you must leave before he gets back.
Exactly.
I don't want him to see that you were here. Ushers her out. When Jeff comes back, he's making his tea, and his favourite tea, Michael, is?
Oh gosh, I can't remember. Not Nahari, because that's Yasmeen was making him Nahari.
No, Yasmeen was making Nahari, but his favourite dinner, he claims, is shepherd's pie.
Oh, shepherd's pie, that's right, yeah.
And this is the second time they've mentioned Nahari on Coronation Street, and I just want to say a big up to Nahari. You very rarely see it on menus in the UK, but it is a really amazing Pakistani curry dish, absolutely fabulous. We have it quite often here.
Yeah,
I like it a lot more than you do.
Yeah.
Do.
I quite like it.
Whenever I hear the word Nahari, it just makes me salivate.
She says, look, let's go out.
Again, no, but a really good point is that she's making his favourite tea, and rather than say thank you, he's like, it's not my favourite tea.
Even if it was his favourite dinner,
would never admit it.
He'd never admit it, yeah.
She says, let's go out later, because she's probably in the back of her mind thinking, Ollie's not right about the fact I'd never go out. I can go out whenever I want. I just choose not to, but maybe I will now. And when she suggests going out, he says no, and then starts accusing her of being desperate for a drink and being an alcoholic. And then he becomes very petty and says, no, I'm not going out with you. If you're not going to go to Cyprus with me, I'm not going to the Rovers with you. And that's how it's left.
Yeah. Still very much enjoying this. I don't know whether there's a whole lot to discuss other than things that we've already said. Yes, Jeff is mean. Yes, everyone around it is performing fantastically. I'm finding it odd being on Alia's side, and I am kind of going, go on, Alia, you're really, really close now. Go on, just get in there. You're really close to finding some evidence here. It's not often that I've been on Team Alia, but I definitely am with this, because Yasmeen can't save herself at the moment. She needs somebody to, because she's so many times we've seen Yasmeen look like she kind of is realising and she's putting the pieces together, but then just goes back, and I think she needs somebody like Alia to help her to only confront him.
Yeah, but only, this is the point, Yasmeen is the only one who can save herself. Alia can say anything, everything, point everything out, give her all the evidence in the world. Yasmeen is not going to listen to her. This is why I like the story, and I know that people don't. This is how it goes. I think it's really commendable of Coronation Street to prolong the story through Alia confronting.
Do you think that Yasmeen needs to find some really hard, obvious evidence? Is that what's going to make her confront him?
I don't think so. It's not realistic. I tell you another thing. Isn't there like a statistic that says that it takes women 7 or 9 times to try to leave an abusive partner before they manage it?
I don't know.
I really want Yasmeen to try to leave Jeff at least once and not do it.
Well, there was even the time
to be realistic.
There was the time on the a month or so ago when she went out to the shops thinking he'd sent her out, and she was standing outside the house in the rain just looking at that front door, and you could see her like, do I go back or not? And after the 10,000th episode as well, it's a do I go back or not?
Thing.
I
I just think, to be true, they've done so much hard work. They really have put a lot of work, and Shelley King and Ian Bartholomew have done incredible work on crafting this realistic storyline. I don't want them to throw it away for the purpose of a happy Disney ending. Well, I want her to try to leave at least once and not do it, because that would be a respectful way to deal with all the women who have dealt with the same situation. And I know I'm generalizing to like women, and I know that there are men in abusive relationships, but I can't speak to that at the moment. This is a storyline about women who are being abused in relationships, and with the best will in the world, there is definitely a gender gap regarding how these stories, how these real relationships work. There is definitely a different way that in heterosexual relationships, the way an abusive man versus an abusive woman will control their partners. There's definitely a difference. Don't feel like I'm trying to exclude men from this discussion. We spoke about how men get abused in domestic violence relationships when we had the Kirsty and Tyrone storyline. I think we tried our hardest to talk about it from a male perspective then. But this is,
this is different. This is
this is it really is gendered. It is gendered.
I think that where I was talking about evidence and what does she need to see something obvious?
It's not to do with evidence.
It's not, but I still think that she's going to find out that Jeff was doing Brian's beans with him. I can't. No. The main reason that I think that they had him go off and do his beans with Brian is so that Yasmeen can find out. Brian will go to her and say, "Oh, Jeff was really helpful with my bean planting last Friday morning," and she was saying, "Oh, but Friday morning she was going to see our financial advisor. What's going on there?" And if Jeff is still adamant that he was doing that, but actually he was doing something else, is that going to be the tipping point? But then I was also wondering, why would Jeff do that? If I told,
why would Brian do that?
No, why would Jeff do that? Why would Jeff offer to go and help with Brian with his beans when that sets himself up to have somebody who could give evidence against him?
I think it was more of a power thing with Jeff. Like, I know that Yasmeen is relying on me to go to talk to our financial advisor, but it's so beneath me that I would rather literally help a man plant beans in the soil than bother with doing what I told my wife I would do.
It could be that's part of his downfall, especially with Brian and Kathy, and Kathy starting to suspect him as well.
That'd be a bit of no, Michael. It can't come from external forces. Yasmeen has to do it herself.
I know it.
She has to be empowered. If Coronation Street does anything other than having Yasmeen empower herself to extricate herself from the situation, I will be disappointed. They need to be true to the story that women have, this path that women have walked before. The way that an abused woman gets herself out of this situation is not somebody comes and rescues her by pointing out that a man was planting beans.
It's the same. It can't happen with him being killed as well, isn't it? That's what we said before. You had an interesting theory about that relates to Ray when we were watching the other day, didn't you?
We had... When did we talk about this? Was it in the Cabin Extra?
No, it was just in the feedback bit last week.
Who was it that found this? Michelle sent us an email with the layout of the street that was taken from Ray's solicitor's laptop. And if you weren't listening to last episode or whenever it was, basically it's a picture of Coronation Street, and the right hand side, so the factory, the masonettes, the cabin, garage is all covered in red
crosses. Out. So this was on Ray's computer.
So it looks as though Ray has some kind of plan to develop the right hand side of Coronation Street.
Yeah.
And he's already begun by taking over the garage. And we know that in the masonettes we've got Sally and Tim. We've got Yasmeen and Jeff.
Yeah, and we've got the Platts. Now, if Jeff
and Yasmeen were to actually move to Cyprus, I'm sure that Ray would be more than happy to take their property.
Yes.
And this is a really interesting, because we were talking about it previously and saying, oh, why would anybody want to move? What would be the reason
this is setting up why he could get their house
to sell? And there you go, big fat tick.
And I don't think they are going to move to Cyprus, but they might get to the stage where they sell to him first. And I can't wait to see Alia's reaction if that happens as well. If this slime ball of her ex-boss is now buying her house,
family
home,
with her lovely portrait of her dad.
Yeah, that's gonna be a great bit of fallout.
That's gonna get in her crawl.
Yeah, and certainly we could have he could buy David's house because David wants to move to Leeds to be closer to Shona or something like that. Sally and Tim's marriage is on the rocks. Blah blah blah. So I think there's definitely reasons for all three of those maisonettes how they could make it so that Ray buys them. I'm still not sure about the cafe. Not the cafe, the underworld or the cabin.
This is really like the most tinfoil hat theory.
I know, but there must be something going on because there were a load of crosses through that picture of the street on Ray's laptop.
I didn't say it was a bad thing. You know, I love my conspiracy theories. That's really.
What do you think that Jeff is doing with the money? Why is he
trying to frame? He's
trying
to frame
that's
Alia,
what it is? Because that's what Alia thinks.
And then once he gets confronted, he will probably have some rubbish reason, like, I was just taking money out to treat your gran for Mother's Day because I knew that you wouldn't give her anything. Blah, 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 blah.
Do you think that Yasmeen will ask him about it? Because when Alia mentioned about the money, Yasmeen, I think, did look a little bit taken back. She immediately jumped to Jeff's defence. But will that be playing in her mind now? Will she bring up the courage to say to Jeff, are you taking money out?
If she does, Jeff will have a reason instantly, and it will make sense to her, and she will not question it.
Right, next story, Gemma. Nina, Batman! Whose turn is it? Is it my turn or your turn? Right, this was another great story this week. Monday and Wednesday mostly. Solely actually. So the Bat Society, the Weatherfield Bat Society are going to come round the cabin later on to have their meeting. And Nina's really excited about this because she believes she has found her people, other bat enthusiasts. And Roy... there's a little name drop of Tony Gordon, isn't there, as well, when he tried to get the bats out of Victoria Courts. That was a nice little throwback. Anyway, these bat guys come over and they are not impressed at all by Nina. Partly, I think it's because she's a girl and they're a bit intimidated. And obviously the way that she looks, dressed up as a goth, they're making vampire jokes and things like that. So it's not very pleasant. But I know we've made vampire jokes about Nina on the podcast as well. So when these guys were doing it as well, I did feel a little bit guilty about that. But they're trying to belittle her and saying like she can't be in the group and all that. But they have to, when Nina brings down her bat boxes that she's made, they have to begrudgingly accept that they are actually quite awesome. But they still can't help themselves putting these sort of snarky comments about her. Does Nina not hear them? I can't remember, because I think it's when they go home later after Roy sends them off. Nina's like, where they gone and why have you cancelled the meeting on Wednesday? But anyway, Roy has a go at them, sort of saying, and it's a really kind of empowering speech, saying I've always been criticised for being the outsider, the oddball, the weirdo, and they're like, but Roy, you're our weirdo, and he's like, no, I'm not putting up with listening to you being to you being just as narrow-minded as all the people that used to make fun of me, used to make fun of Hayley, and he quits the group. I know, but he's still determined to get these bat boxes put out on Wednesday.
Well, he doesn't also want Nina to find out what happened because he doesn't want to crush her spirit.
Yeah.
So he tells Nina that the
meeting's been cancelled. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so she's like really disappointed with this because she wants to put her bat boxes up. So there's later Nina talks with Carla, and Carla knows that the real reason why Roy's cancelled this, and says, look, she found out the group wasn't cancelled and think Roy's ashamed to be with her, and Carla says, no, this is actually what's happened.
Nina finds out
Nina thinks that Roy's ashamed.
Cancelled.
Yeah.
Wasn't cancelled. She's just not invited.
Yeah.
And Roy, she says to Carla that Roy doesn't like me. And Carla says, no,
this is what actually happened.
Roy stood up for you.
Yeah.
You weirdo.
Yeah, and so when Roy comes home, Nina's acting pretty mardy, and then he immediately apologises for lying to her, and she can't help but accept it because they've got this really lovely relationship, and she can tell that he doesn't like lying, and he did only do it to protect her. She's like, okay, you're right, let's just do it, me and you then. And there's a lovely little scene when they're leaving the cafe to go out to the woods or wherever they're putting these bat boxes, and she calls him Batman and he calls him Robin, and she's like, I don't want to be Batman, can I be Batgirl? And she's doing the bit where she's like shining the torch out. I'm really, really finding her cute and adorable. I tell you what I really
liked about this too, I don't know if it's intentional, but the way that her lips and her face, so she held this torch up to her face and she shone it in her face, and she's got the pale face and the dark lipstick, but her mouth, the line of her mouth was very straight with like corners pointed up, and it just looked exactly like a comic, like a Batman comic still. And I don't know whether they did this intentionally, but you could almost draw that face of Nina and stick it in a Batman comic, and I don't think you would.
Yeah, she's very nice and expressive.
She has got such an expressive face.
Yeah, she's very kooky,
and it really helps the sort of the stark white and the dark contrast of her lips.
She says, can I be Batgirl? And he says, you can be anyone you want to be, which is lovely. And really this was the message of this. You be yourself, Nina. Don't care what anyone else says. I had people being horrible to me all my life for being who I am, and I want you to embrace whatever floats your boat.
And this was also a really important thing to have in the week where we have James.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's a bit of a dichotomy here, within certain circles you can be whoever you want, but sadly James can't, because if you want certain things of people, you can't be a certain way. Like, Nina doesn't want anything from anybody except acceptance, but so does James. It's really tricky.
Yeah.
Like, and in Roy's world, you can be anyone you want to be, because Roy will accept you.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And it's sad that even in this Bat Society, and they are made up to be nerds, and they're all oddballs and weirdos and outsiders themselves, even they can't bring themselves.
People.
Even they reject these people. I can't remember who. Did they? Is it them that says, I bet she doesn't even like bats? She's just pretending to be a bat lover, and Roy was like, why would anyone pretend to be a bat lover? Because he knows, and they know, and they all know that they're
high status.
No. I thought that those Batmen were fantastic characters, and I know we're not supposed to like them, but it was all written quite tongue in cheek, and
I don't know what their names were.
No, I can't remember, but they were so funny, all of them, and just real caricatures. I'd like to think. Do you think we'll see them again, and they will eventually accept Nina? Because it almost seems like that they don't need to. Nina and Roy, dynamic duo. They don't need anybody else.
Yeah, I guess that's the difference between Nina and James. Like, she doesn't need acceptance, but James does.
As long as she's got somebody that accepts her and loves her.
Like, you don't need people to applaud you and stand in a stadium and watch you put a bat box up.
It was really, really sweet and cute, and such a breath of fresh air for Roy, whose character has been stagnating a little bit for the past 5 years. She's reinvigorated him perfectly.
Roy and Carla's relationship has always been a really special Coronation Street treat for everybody to watch. However, because of Carla's baggage and her mental health issues, it's been difficult to really have conflict between the two that's interesting and light-hearted. Nina and Roy's conflict is light-hearted and essentially at the end of the day leads to these sweet kind of reconciliations, which is difficult because Roy and Carla just need to be a team to get through their mutual troubles.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know, I think there's more scope for sweet little
I just looked at how
stories.
she was how at the end of this episode, she's kind of coming out of her shell ever so gradually, and she was so, like the first few times that she met Roy, she was closing the door in his face and not wanting him to let him in, and she was like, you stay away from my dad, and then she didn't want to live with him, and gradually she's realising, no, this person, I can trust him, I can show my true self to him, because she's been sort of abused and ridiculed and everything all her life, and she's realising now that I'm not going to get this from Roy, and it's just lovely seeing the trust building up. And the whole thing when she was shining the light in her face, she wouldn't do that to anyone else, but she knows that whatever she does, Roy's gonna not make fun of her.
Yeah,
it's really lovely. I'd want to see her integrating with more of the street now, and I know with her there serving the meals in the cafe in her skull pinny, she's getting those interactions. But I'd like to see her have some more meaningful dialogue with other people.
Well, don't forget that one really great thing about Nina is that she's not afraid to have people dislike her for what she stands for and who she is. So she was not afraid to say to Toya, oh, you're applying for a job at Durmstrang's. Well, don't you know that they're the evil house of Harry Potter, because they're all like, what was their sigil? They stamp about and things. They're evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she just came out and said it, which is an admirable trait, which doesn't win you friends.
She wears her heart on her sleeve.
Especially if you're a girl. Yeah. You don't get friends by being outspoken.
But she doesn't care.
No, good for her. You shouldn't always care. Sometimes you should, but not.
Like, if you don't accept me, then stop off. I don't need you.
If you don't accept me, there's plenty of other people. You're not my human and I'm not yours. Yeah. But that's fine, because you know what? There's over 7 billion of us. I'm sure we can find someone for each other.
Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. What I really like, one of the things on the whole I liked about this week's Coronation Street was there was lots of nice, heartwarming, emotional moments. There wasn't too much kind of forced humour in it. The stuff that was nice. The Yasmeen bit where she was breaking down was heartbreaking. And then all this stuff with Ken in the Looking After Number One story when he was there with Eccles on his lap. I thought there were just so many scenes that made me go, oh, I can feel kind of nice and warm inside.
Heartwarming. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Your heart was warmed?
My heart was warmed by this week's Coronation Street.
Good.
Tell me, Gemma.
I'll tell you about Looking After Number One. Okay. So, on Monday, Murky Myers, the old folks
old
home,
Codgers community,
has had a last minute cancellation, which normally in Coronation Street is kind of a funny trial period joke, but now
that's how you get a wedding in Coronation Street, isn't it? A cancellation, but
now because it's an old people's home, it means that someone's croaked it. Claudia is adamant they should jump in. Ken says, would you jump in my grave so quick? And Claudia's like, yep, we should go for it. This is the best unit they've got. Steve and Tracy, well, I don't know if Steve
No, Steve was happy to hear that. He seems to have come round, and I did think it was a bit odd how the last time we saw Steve, he was like saying, we can't afford this, Tracy, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, great.
We
get somewhere to move into soon. And Ken says, I'm going to be moving by the end of the week.
Yeah, so they're happy about this, and Peter's a bit annoyed. Yeah, because he's got to move out.
He's got to move out. Him and Simon have got to move out and split up, and there's an end, a goodbye scene on Friday. They look like they're never going to see each other again.
I don't want to be down on people that have had a tough time in their lives, and I'm certainly in no position to criticise, because if it weren't for you, I would probably still be living with my parents. But really, Peter, as a father who supposedly has his stuff together after his California trip and his newfound sobriety, he should be able to afford his own place for his son and his girlfriend without worrying about the fact that they're moving into an old people's home.
I know. That Simon, poor lad, he's been passing pillar to post ever since he was born.
Leanne needs to swoop back in. Anyway, and Claudia, on Wednesday, Ken is waffling about what to give up and what not to, and I feel
he wants to take all of his books with him, and Claudia's like, you don't need them.
You don't need 3 copies of the same book. And he's like, oh, I've got the different translations. Claudia goes and tears her hair out and clumps, comes back with a fabulous wig, looks exactly the same. Audrey comes over, and the sort of the mini theme of this storyline was Claudia and Audrey. One of them's trying to drag Ken into the next phase of his life, and the other is trying to make him realise how much the old phase means to him. And Audrey is that old phase girl. They go off to, Claudia goes off to Sweaty Swamps to measure up the unit, and Audrey is surprised to hear how quickly everything is moving. Ken tries to say, everything's fine, let's look on the bright side. Claudia's looking forward to it, but Audrey can see that he's not really 100% into it. Later on, they get the whiskey out, they're both taking shots. Audrey implores him to slow down if this is not what he really wants to happen. Ken kind of steals himself up to go and tell Tracy and the rest that he has maybe changed his mind.
Or just wants to slow down at least.
He goes to tell them this, but he's presented with Amy's mood board, Tracy going on about how much she's excited about moving, Liz talking about how she can't wait to have the flat to herself.
Oh, this is when Ken comes in and Liz puffs a big load of vape smoke in his face, doesn't she? He has to walk through a cloud of it. It's grim.
It's like he's walking into the club. He cannot bring himself to tell them that this is on the rocks, so he just sort of leaves it at that. On Friday, Claudia's getting fed up with Ken. He's putting off the packing. Audrey is worried that Ken doesn't want to move. Simon and Peter are moving out. Simon is going to stay with Leanne. Don't know where Peter's going. Perhaps he's going to sit outside Costa with his hat on the floor. Eccles, there's a really sad scene. Eccles, really, she's getting on in years. I can't listen. I'm very... I really don't want to be horrible to people who are in impossible situations with their pets, but I cannot comprehend moving into a phase of my life where I couldn't take my pet with me.
I know. Yeah, they've had Eccles since like early mid-2000s.
Eccles is 16.
She's 15, 16 or so now, yeah.
She hasn't
or she's been in the show that long. I don't even know how old Eccles was supposed to be when she came in. But
she's not got a long time.
She's not got long left, or she's
planet.
going to the big
Rainbow Bridge
park in the sky.
So why can't Ken just wait? I really can't. Oh.
I think he'd like to, wouldn't he?
I guess I'm really privileged to have never been in a situation where I have to choose, but I can't.
That was a very tear-jerky scene.
So basically, Ken sits there on the sofa, on his chair in his corner, listening to probably Wagner, petting Eccles and sort of talking to her about how when Blanche first got you, you bit me, I had to earn your trust and I love you, and my heart.
Even Eccles was doing a good job of looking sad.
That's not the same Eccles that they started with. I
believe there have been more than one Eccles over the years.
That seemed to be an Eccles specifically trained in the art of looking sad and morose.
Yes.
Because she did a really good job. Anyway, Ken eventually somehow falls asleep to the stirring tunes that he's listening to in the background. Tracy comes home, thinks he's dead, and has to poke him. I know I've said this before on the podcast, but anyone with an elderly relative who's had a nap on the sofa has had this moment where you think,
is that a little breath that you took there? Thank goodness it was.
I'm going to get the mirror out. I don't want to know. The Barlows, Claudia and Carla are presented with Deirdre's peanut bowls that she made. And if you've been watching Coronation Street for a long time, you'll know that Deirdre went through a pottery phase where she kept making really odd things. One of the things that she made were these pair of peanut bowls. I guess one is for the shelled peanuts and one is for the empty shells.
I don't know.
You can use them for olives and olive pits. Maybe if they told that to Claudia, she might have been more sold on them. Everyone is arguing about who should have them. Nobody really wants to take them.
I thought that was a really, really funny
scene. They keep saying, "Oh, you should take them," and then give them to Simon. And
it was a cute scene because it was just it showed the characters really well. There was some great dialogue, some back and forth, and everyone was kind of making fun at Deirdre. But then when it ended with Ken being the only one left there in the lounge after everyone's gone, and he kind of says his goodbyes to the house. He goes out and then he comes back for it. I thought that was really nicely done. Ken
coming back and taking those peanut bowls.
Yeah,
because it's a bit of Deirdre that's going with him.
Exactly. There was some really nice, nostalgia in tonight's episode.
And when I
thought it was very, respectfully done.
When I pass, all I leave and bequeath to the world in general is 1,500 hours of waffling about Coronation
or more,
and counting. They get to the old folks' home. They get to Muddy Waters, and Ken is excited because he sees they've got a copy of The
Idiot. In a particular translation that he hasn't read before.
Is that a book about Tim? He's thrilled. They're introduced to Charles, who is the head of Shady Bush, and he wants to introduce them to his wife or something like that.
I think he's the head. I rewatched it this morning, and I don't think it said who Charles was, but it's like, you Ken Barlow, we've been expecting you. So it made it look like he was, if not in charge, he was the welcoming committee or something. And he mentions Mrs. someone or other who also likes wine like Claudia, because Claudia's asked, do you like books as well? And she's like, if only they were about wine,
books about wine.
Like, you're going to get on really well with Mrs. whoever, Mrs. Niggins.
Stale crackers.
And then they end saying, I think we're going to be very happy here.
I'm going to be happy in musty fields.
Exactly. Look, again, I've talked before about how much I like this story. It's nice to have something with the old people moving to this, and hopefully having a lot of action going on at the old folks' home. It should be an awful lot of fun. It's something that's brave and new and different for Coronation Street, yet also at the same time very classic, because it is revolving around the older folks, like a lot of old Coronation Street stuff was. So yeah, just teased it on Friday, I guess, and I assume that next week we will have more of whatever Coronation Street has in store for us there.
Do you think that Eccles is going to die?
I would say as part of this storyline, and I do think that Ken's going to come back.
Yeah, me too.
I can't believe, especially if William Roach is saying, what do you mean, I've still got another 30 years left in Coronation Street. I can't believe that he's going to live away from the street all that time. So I think Eccles might die, and maybe that's what brings him back. I think that I do wonder whether they'll split up, because I'm still not completely convinced about Ken and Claudia as a couple. I think that maybe he'll miss the street so long, or he'll get upset that he's missed Eccles' funeral or something, and Claudia will like, don't worry about it, that's in the past. And
don't
Ken's
worry,
like,
darling.
no, that's where my roots are. And then he'll go back. I sent them
a Jimmy Choo's shoebox to bury her in.
I think he'll go back and leave Claudia there. Maybe Claudia will get together with Charles or something at the end. So I'm looking forward to whatever the story is, but I don't think this is Ken's final resting place. There was even the scene with, I can't remember, was it Rita maybe in the Rovers saying, this street's not going to be the same without Ken. He's been here all his life. Yeah, it's just a little chapter away, I think.
The way that he said, goodbye number one.
Goodbye number one, Coronation
before he left,
Street.
just make me think that I don't know if he's going to go back there.
Maybe not, but I think he'll be back on the street at some point. Now, what I was confused about with this was what Peter and Carla's plan was during the envelope, the sealed bidding ceremony the other week.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Peter, because Tracy had seen their bid, hadn't she? So she bid, what was it, £135,000 or something. And Peter and Carla had to pretend that they were disappointed that they lost, and Peter gave a big wink to Carla. But it certainly seems the way things are going at the moment, things aren't looking good.
What did Peter think he was going to end up doing?
Things aren't looking good for him. Was it literally just he thought that Steve would say, no, we're not paying that, you have it? Because, he really...
But he didn't want it, and he knew that Carla didn't want it.
Peter really has been left with egg on his face over this.
This is why this was a really irritating storyline for me, because it wasn't thought out by the writers.
I think it was. I think it's just not been made clear enough.
Well, thumbs down.
Are you thumbs down for the whole story?
No, thumbs down for Carla and Peter's...
their plan.
Idiotic plan of what?
Okay.
Question mark.
Well, we will see where this is going next week, I'm sure. And as will we, I imagine, see more of the Gemma story, because it was kind of forced into Friday's episode.
I drank some coffee, it's gone down the wrong way.
Gemma is having she's just choking to death there. Don't worry if you hear some funny noises. It's just
I've just swallowed something wrong, which is weird because I've been doing it for 38 years.
Yeah. Friday we have Gemma falling asleep during her baby story class at Speed Dial. And then one of the other mums says, look, maybe have you got no one to help you? Maybe your mum can help. So there's another. Yeah, that was another quite nice scene at the end. Like I was saying about all the coziness or the niceness this week or the tenderness. I thought that Gemma's phone call, leaving an answer message on Bernie's phone, was quite sweet, because it did show how desperate she's become. And we will see what happens there. Also, if and when Bernie reappears next week.
One of the mums says, "Why don't you have any help?" And mentions her au pair.
Oh, that was funny, because she's like, "Oh yeah, I've got an au pair from somewhere." It was like, I thought that was great. Like, I don't care where she's from, as long as she cleans my bog, that's fine with me.
Yeah. So one of the mums is definitely more snobby than the other.
Yeah, definitely. So we will have to endure a bit more Gemma next week, I think. So, Gemma, can you still talk? You still got the windy pops there?
I've really got difficulty.
You're yawning, you're hiccuping, you're coughing.
I need to drink some water.
We'll have a little drink in a minute. We first got to give a score and a character of the week this week. And character of the week is a really, really difficult one for me, because there's an awful lot I could choose from.
Yeah.
I could go for Ryan for how much he supported his brother. I could go for Ali for sticking on through and still, going after Gary, despite the fact that he could be a mortal peril. I could give it to Dr. Gallas, because because of her,
what
badassery. I thought I enjoyed her. I loved Roy this week. I thought Nina was awesome this week. I enjoyed everyone in the Ken storyline. Literally, this was a week where there was an awful lot. I could give it to Imran and Toya just for being in it. And
we
for Toya.
We don't give out participation trophies on this show.
I'd give it to Toya for admitting about not keeping what she knows about Ali's drugs to herself, just to try and save her own skin.
No, snitches get stitches.
So I really don't, have you got any?
I honestly don't know. I know I want to give this 4 misshapen peanut bowls out of 5, because I thought it was a good week. But as far as, maybe I want to give it to Nina, because she sort of provided my favourite
moment,
still image of the week, of her illuminated face in the darkness. Like I said, it looked exactly like a cartoon.
Even like James could get a character of the week, maybe. But gosh, I don't know.
Now you're on the spot.
I really am on the spot, because you're giving your score out. And your okay. I think I'm going to give it to Roy for telling Nina you can be whoever you want to be, and standing up against his batty friends. Roy and Nina, character of the week's rest this week. And I'm also going to give it a 4. I'm going to give it 4 angster gangsters out of 5. So there we go. There's Street Talk for this week. Jolly good week this week, Coronation Street. Well done.
Thanks, everybody.
Right, that's it for Street Talk for now.